What's up, everyone? Welcome to episode number 2 of Try Talk and Brew. The background is blue. For those of you who are new to this channel, welcome. My name is Jeremy Try, and I help beginner triathletes get into the sport of triathlon by giving tips and tricks, interviewing and sharing stories from the everyday athlete on my podcast, and really just documenting my training and racing adventures in the sport. So if that all sounds cool to you and you feel like you'd be interested in any of my videos and swim, bike, run, training, racing, triathlon adventures, consider subscribing. Alright, so on this show I do a really quick review of a beer that I'm drinking, and then I jump into training updates, question and answer, and shoutouts. So let's jump right into the show. The beer of this week is Wicked Weed Pernicious India Pale Ale, aka IPA. This beer is from Wicked Weed Brewing. ASMR, anyone? Anyways, Wicked Weed Brewing is from Asheville, North Carolina. This is a very, very popular beer. I got it at my local supermarket. I've actually had this before, so spoiler alert, it is really, really good. And I did a much better pour than last week. All right, so Wicked Weed, where's my notes? This is 7.3%, so let's go in for the taste. Cheers. I'm getting some malt flavors up front, followed by citrus notes at the back on the finish. Citrus hops, maybe some notes of tangerine, maybe some melon in there. This is a very, very well-balanced IPA, so if you're the type of person who doesn't like really bitter IPAs, this is definitely a good option for you, and I highly recommend it. It's a solid beer. Very refreshing, very well balanced. It's not super juicy like your New England IPAs that are like hazy and just like juiced to the max. And it's not like your, say, West Coast IPAs that are super hop forward and really bitter. So if you can get your hands on Wicked Weed Pernicious IPA, I highly recommend it. 2 thumbs up from me. All right, so I'm still trying to feel out the audience and see if you dig these beer reviews or not. I'll keep them really short because I know you're probably here for swim, bike, and run talk. So let's jump straight into the training updates. Okay, so last week I biked 132 miles over 7 days. I ran around 12 miles and I swam about a half a mile. So I haven't put up numbers like that in probably a couple years. I've never done 100 miles in a single week on the bike. For some people, 100 miles on a bike can be their weekly average, but for me, like when I was training for my half Ironman races, I don't even think I put in over 100 miles on the bike. And last week I did 132, which was pretty awesome, and I felt pretty good. But I guess the big question here is why? Why did I do all that? And I kind of mentioned it in the last episode of Try Talking and Brew that I'd be really stepping it up in June. And that's because the company that I work for, every year we do a competition to see which teams can swim, bike, run, row, or walk to 5,000 miles. It's a really fun competition, and it gets really serious. We have multipliers to make sure, swimming, biking, running, rowing, all just kind of equates to the same points. So, me being a triathlete, this is my kind of competition. So the competition started on June 1st, and right off the bat on the first day, I put out a 39-mile bike ride. The next day I did like a 7-mile run. Then I did like a 4-mile run and then put up, like another 30, 40 miler. And then on the weekend I did a 50 miler. So doing this competition at work has really made me feel like I'm training for a race. And this is a feeling that I haven't had since last year. So, with coronavirus pandemic and all that, all the races being canceled, this is really just getting me back into swim, bike, and run shape. And I'm loving it. I'm treating this as if I'm training for a race, and I'm being very careful and intentional with my workouts and my training volume. As I mentioned in the last episode of Try Talking and Brew, I was building my base. So for most of May, I was going on a few runs, a few bike rides, and really just building up my base run and my base bike physical fitness. So once June 1st started, I was off to the races. I've been mostly alternating my activities. So I'll bike, run, and then bike again. And if my legs are feeling good, I can do 2 bike rides in a row. And then over the weekend, I put in a swim because I think that's going to be really key to stay consistent moving forward. Biking and running every day is going to take a toll on the body, and you need a rest day. But a rest day means other people are probably going ahead of me on the rankings on the leaderboard, and other teams are getting ahead of my team. So my rest day really is going to just be my swim day. So while I swim, swimming is such a great workout. It's so good on the body, and I'm not going to be kicking hard. I'll just be putting in like 800 meters to a mile, which also counts for the race. But yeah, as I mentioned, I've been really careful with how I've been putting in my miles. I've been resting a lot. I've been getting quality 7-8 hours of sleep every night. I've been foam rolling. I've been stretching. And just being really careful because this is it's going to be a long month. This competition most likely will end in June, and I don't want to run into any kind of injuries. I don't want to get sick. I want to really just stay consistent and hopefully maintain this high level of mileage output without injuring myself over the course of the competition in the month of June. So that's what I've been up to for the past week, doing this competition and putting in all these miles. It's made me feel really good, and it's making me really reconnect with my training regimen and reconnect with my body. And it's really been giving me a lot of joy because this is what I love to do. And with the races canceled, this is giving me a goal and something to train for. So for those of you out there who have had a lot of races canceled this year and you're trying to reshuffle and reassess what your goals are, whether it be a physical fitness goal or a life goal, sometimes you have to just get a little creative and rethink, step back and jot down new goals. Sometimes it also helps to hit up some friends and engage in some friendly competition, see who can improve their 5K by 15 seconds, or just share your goals with your friends. Write it down on a notepad. It's good to get your goals out of your head in general. And if it's a physical fitness goal related to, say, swimming, biking, or running, tell a friend so they can keep you accountable and maybe you can work towards your goals together. So for next week, the plan is to keep swimming, keep biking, keep running, and maintain this level of mile output. I don't know if I'm going to be biking 132 miles or running 12 miles. Maybe I'll do more, maybe I'll do less. Stay tuned for the next episode to find out. So for the Q&A portion of the show, this is where I answer any questions that have been posted as a comment to one of my YouTube videos that have been sent to me through Twitter or Instagram DM or my website. And this week we have no questions once again. No one's reached out to me for any questions, so I will pose a question that I've been thinking about myself lately, and that is, will I change my YouTube channel name from Jeremy Try to The Triathlete Beat? So just a little history of this YouTube channel that you're watching right now. It started as my personal channel. There's some pretty random videos in it, and then I started doing some reviews on some random stuff. And then I really kind of got clarity in the past year and decided to go pursue my passion of triathlon on this channel. That's why the current channel name is Jeremy Try. But I have the podcast now, The Triathlete Beat. My Instagram is The Triathlete Beat. My Twitter is Triathlete Beat. So I think from like a branding perspective, it really makes sense, to obviously, once you see my channel and you see the name of my channel, you know that I'm all about triathlon and not just Jeremy Try, which really can be anything. So it won't impact you in any way other than just seeing, instead of Jeremy Try at the top of my channel, it'll say The Triathlete Beat. So that's something I'm going to think about doing. I probably will do it. Drop a comment down below if you think I should keep Jeremy Try or if you think I should switch to The Triathlete Beat for my channel name. Also for next week, hit me up on Twitter, Instagram, DM, comments on YouTube, on my website. Ask me a question and I will shout you out and answer your question if I feel that it can be beneficial to everyone out there. All right, so moving on to the shout out section of the show today. The first shout out that I want to give out is to someone who reviewed my podcast on Apple Podcasts. This shout out goes to Bearded Suit 101. I believe this is Om. Om, thank you so much for leaving me a review on the podcast. It really means a lot to me. I appreciate you listening and giving me some kind words and kind feedback. Thank you so much, man. I really, really appreciate it. Shout out to Om. So today I learned that when you go and view the reviews for a podcast on Apple Podcasts, by default, you're viewing the reviews of the country that you're in. So I'm here in the US. If I go to my podcast, I'm viewing reviews that people in the US wrote for me. The reason why I noticed this is because Om had told me that he wrote me a review, but I didn't see it on my podcast page. And then I thought, oh, he's in the UK. So I had to go to the UK Apple Podcast page, and lo and behold, his review was there. So today I learned something new about how the reviews work in Apple Podcast, and today I read Om's wonderful review of the podcast. So once again, shout out to Om. Thank you, bro. So the next shout out that I want to give on the show is to my previous podcast guest, Jan Matt. Shout out to Jan Matt. Thank you so much, man, for being on the show. It was a great podcast. I'm not sure if this podcast with Jan Matt will have been released by the time this Try Talking and Brew goes out. If it did, go check out that episode. And if it hasn't, wait, because it'll be out really soon. It's just been a pretty busy week for me. So shout out to Jan Matt. Great podcast, great conversation. It was a fun time. And stay tuned for that podcast episode with him. So that's all I had for today's episode of Try Talking and Brew. I really hope you all are doing well. It's just about summertime, so schools are out. A lot of things are opening back up post-coronavirus quarantine. So leave a comment down below and let me know what are some of your summer goals and what's one thing that you couldn't do because of quarantine that you can do now as things are opening back up. Let me know. I'd love to hear your answers, and thank you so much once again for watching this episode of Try Talking and Brew. If you like this episode, throw a thumbs up down there with the like button. Subscribe to my channel if you aren't already, and I will see you next week. Cheers.